Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I am State Senator Keturah Herron, and I represent the 35th Senate District. Yesterday, I filed a three-part legislative packet focused on transparency, independent review, and prevention when deaths occur in custody or during the arrest process. This is serious work. It is difficult work, but it is necessary. In recent years, Kentucky has seen more than 230 deaths in our local jails. Behind every number is a person, behind every person is a family, and many of those families are still searching for answers. The purpose of the legislation is very straightforward. We need clear reporting, we need independent review, and we need better prevention strategies. This package will address all three. The first bill, Senate Bill 208, expands Kentucky's post-mortem requirements. Right now, a mandatory examination is required once somebody is in custody. However, deaths that occur during the arrest process or while someone is being transported are not explicitly covered in the same way. This bill ensures that if a person dies during the process of arrest or while en route to incarceration, that examination is required. The Office of Kentucky State Medical Examiner is notified. The information is included in an annual statewide public report broken down by county and agency without identifying the individuals. If we do not collect consistent data, we cannot identify patterns. If we cannot identify patterns, we cannot fix systematic problems. The second bill, Senate Bill 209, establishes an independent external detainee fatality review panel. This panel will review deaths of individuals who are in the custody of law enforcement agencies, county jails, state correctional facilities, juvenile justice facilities, and contracted private facilities. The panel would have access to investigative reports, medical records, autopsy findings, and related documentation. I want to be clear that this role is not to interfere with any criminal investigation. Its role is to identify system failures, recommend improvements, and prevent future loss of life. It will publish findings and issue an annual report focused on system and process improvements. Independent review strengthens public trust, and it also strengthens public safety. The third and final proposal, Senate Concurrent Resolution 110, creates a mental health alternative community response model task force. More than 313,000 Kentuckians live with a mental health condition. Law enforcement officers are often asked to respond to behavioral health crises when the situation calls for a mental health trained professional. This task force will study alternative community response models that improve safety, reduce harm, support officers, and connect individuals to care. This is about prevention. It is also about intervening before a crisis escalates. Many of our law enforcement departments have already hired trained social workers and are doing this work. This task force will allow us to learn from one another, support the current work that is happening, and to give others the tools to begin the work. Policy is very important, data is very important, but the families that live with the consequences of these systems are the most important. And today I'm honored to have some families with me, and I want to introduce the family of Dion Watts. They will speak and they will introduce themselves. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Vic Watts. I'm the uncle with Dion Watts. I want to thank Keturah for doing what she can to help people with mental health that is incarcerated. First, I would like to say it was known my nephew had these mental health issues. The Richmond Police Department had transported to Cardinal Hill himself due to an episode. It is horrific. All the deaths that has occurred in the Madison County Detention Center. Not only my nephews, you got Winfrey Whiten. I'm gonna let my sister speak now.
Hi, my name is Victoria Dirksen. I'm Deion Watts' aunt. I'm here to let y'all know the devastating effect that this has brought onto our family. As you can see, we're still grieving. It's hard for me to fall asleep. I haven't gotten hardly any sleep since this has started, since I found out that he was in the hospital. I go to bed at 12:30. I'm back up at 3. I sit around the house, I hear him yelling, "Please stop, please help me, they're killing me." And so do my brother. Deion was not just a nephew to us. Deion was like my son. We lost his mother 4 years ago. After his mother passed, me and my brother Vic has been holding our kids down. It shouldn't be no reason why we had to bury our nephew. Our nephew is not the type of person to go around fighting people, fighting cops. They put all the clippings of the video that they want the public to see. Those are not the videos, the whole videos, the videos that we saw. Because the videos that we saw, he never laid a hand on the cops. We want to know who did this, why, and why are they still working? We want to know why they took my nephew from his kids, why they took him from us. Deion had one of the best souls you will ever run across. He never had an enemy. Deion was a good person regardless to what people trying to make him out to be. He was not a monster. He was not a rowdy type of person. And for all the naysayers that think he was fighting the cops, just wait till the whole video comes out. Because it will. Thank you.
Thank you both for your courage to speak today. It is a lot. I know it is a lot. So thank you. Independent oversight and transparent reporting strengthens when community partners are engaged in the work. And now I would like to introduce Amber Duke, the Executive Director of the ACLU of Kentucky, who will talk about why these reforms are necessary. ACLU of Kentucky has been leading in this work, especially as it relates to the deaths that we have seen in Jefferson County.
Again, my name is Amber Duke. I'm Executive Director of the ACLU of Kentucky. Thank you all for being here and sharing your story. Thank you to Senator Herron for filing this important life-saving legislation. And it may sound strange to be talking about jail deaths and talking about policy and talking about it being life-saving, but this is truly life-saving policy. Because at the end of the day, when the government decides that they are going to incarcerate someone, they are responsible not only for their custody, but they are responsible for the care of that individual. And so, as Keturah mentioned, the ACLU of Kentucky is a founding member of a group called Stakeholders for Change at Louisville Metro Department of Corrections. We started meeting in December of 2021, and at that time we had a week in Louisville where 3 people died at the Louisville Metro Department of Corrections in 1 week. And over the course of nearly 4 years of doing this work together, that number that started at 3 has shockingly grown to 22. Since the time that we first started meeting in December of 2021, we've been able to host amnesty courts to stem the flow of people into the facility. We have made demands around health care in that facility to ensure that people have access not only to medications, but also access to mental health care that they need. There have been innovative programs at LMDC to address overdose, getting Narcan in the dorms. But the foundation of all of the life-saving reforms that we have been able to work on is transparency and is information from government officials. And so this package of bills from Senator Herron is really important, is truly a full circle moment for me of focusing on doing this work at Louisville Metro Department of Corrections, which is a facility that I can see from the window of my office. But to bring this to the state level, as you heard the senator say, this isn't just a Louisville Jefferson County problem. It's not a problem with city jails. It's a problem in our county jails. It's a problem in our state prisons. And so I think that this package of bills that would ensure information and transparency are requirements when the unthinkable happens in one of these facilities is the first step in the foundation for us to learn from things that are happening and make needed reforms. Whenever I have the opportunity to speak on this issue, I take a moment to read the names of the people who died at Louisville Metro Corrections because it's in their honor that I was brought into this work and that I do this work. And just want to note again that Keturah talked about the over 200 people, so I'm not able to name everyone's names, but I think that it's important when we're in these spaces to bring their names into the space. So, Kenneth Hall, Rakita Smith, Stephanie Dunbar, Gary Wetherill, Keith Smith, Leslie Starnes, Momon Anderson Jr., Barry Williams Sr., Norman Shekels, Thomas Bradshaw, Buddy Stevens, Bashar Gazaway, Ishmael Worth Puckett, Miguel Guadino Resides, Thomas Simpson, David Doms, Shantae Hughes, Rodney Robinson, Samuel Bradford, Brandon McKellen. There's a person who died at Louisville Metro Department of Corrections in November of 2024 whose identity has still not been released as they've not reached that person's next of kin, and Richard Graham. Monica Graham, the mother of Richard Graham, is actually on her way to the Capitol right now, so I hope, I don't know her status because I don't have my phone, but I hope that folks can stick around. I think that she'd appreciate the opportunity to share information about her son, who was a father, a brother, a valued member of the community. And I think that, you know, we read lists of names, but we want to share and lift up the stories of these folks. They are just not names. They are family members. They are parents. And if there's anything that can be done to honor their lives, it's moving past whatever crime they may have committed, whatever crime they may have been accused of, moving past potentially maybe the worst thing that ever happened to them, and really honoring their lives through action. So, Senator Herron, I'm grateful that you've taken this really important step.
I would also just like to say that since January, I've also been come in contact with other families, and I know that there has been recently a Robert Broyles Jr. who was murdered in one of our facilities here in the state, and he was 9 days away from being released. And so his family is also pushing to make some changes policy-wise, and so just now gotten connected to that family, so I will be working with them as well to learn more about that story and to see how I can support them As you all have heard today, this issue is not about politics. It is about people. It is about families who deserve clear answers. It is about systems that should be strong enough to examine themselves honestly. It is about protecting all Kentuckians. Our state currently lacks consistent statewide reporting on arrest-related deaths. Independent review does not currently exist in a structured, public-facing way. Mental health crises are often handled by systems that are not equipped to provide clinical care. This is urgent. It's urgent because we cannot continue to respond only after the tragedies. We must also build systems that reduce the likelihood of tragedy in the first place. Transparency strengthens institutions. Accountability strengthens trust. And prevention strengthens public safety. I am committed to working with all colleagues on both sides of the aisle, along with all stakeholders, to move these measures forward. I want to be very clear. This is about safety for all Kentuckians. And that includes law enforcement, custody staff, our elected officials, other policymakers, the families, and of course, the people who are in custody. I thank you all for being here. Again, I thank the families for being here, sharing your stories. And at this time, we will take any questions from the media.
How much sympathy have you received from your different colleagues across the aisle over getting something like this through?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How much sympathy have you received from your colleagues across
Sympathy?
the aisle? Yeah, hearing this story.
I don't want to speak on the sympathy part. I do know that our legislative body has known for a long time that we have issues related to our jails and prisons. There's crowdedness. And so there is going to be other legislation that is going to be addressing some of those issues. However, I feel like it's my job and my goal to bring in this other part of the issue is the death. So we can talk about the overcrowding. We can talk about that the jails are not getting the resources. But I'm going to bring up the fact that this is the end result. And so we cannot talk about making sure the jails are getting paid from our state correctional facilities or all these different things without having this. And so I will be working and talking to my colleagues and making sure that they're aware of these issues.
Senator, you obviously live in Louisville, so the Louisville jail is so central to your message and what you're trying to do here. I know Director Jerry Collins has made some changes that folks across the community have seemingly praised, although there have been room for growth that those same folks have said. What is the one thing or the top thing that you believe Louisville's jail specifically needs to adjust to avoid these kind of situations?
But before I answer that question, I also want to make clear to folks who may not know, I'm originally from Richmond, Madison County, so I grew up in Madison County. And right behind Jefferson County, Madison County is number 2 in deaths in the state. And so this issue for me is just not about Jefferson County and District 35. This is an issue because it hits home. I grew up with this family that's standing behind me. I knew Deon Watts personally, and so the issues today is just not about one jail or one prison. It's about the whole system. It's about from the point of contact with law enforcement. It's about what's happening while our individuals are inside, the care that they're given, and really us really figuring out, do they really belong in jail? And I think that when you hear the story, especially when you hear the story of Deon Watts, he never should have been arrested in the first place.
Senator Herron, have you spoken with any jailers, Department of Corrections, or law enforcement agencies about this legislation so far?
Yes, I have spoken to KCO. Folks do know that this is what I'm going to be doing. Obviously, we know today we hit day 30 in the session, so we're in the middle of the session. You all know how this legislative process works. And so I want to be very clear. This was not a priority of mine in October or November. This became a priority when I learned about the death of Deon Watts. And so that death happened in January of this year. And so sometimes as legislators, we have to pivot. And so this legislation is about pivoting and addressing the needs of the community, and the things that are before us. And so, as you all know, I am very bold in the work that I do, and so I will be working with all stakeholders, whether it's law enforcement, sheriffs, detention staff, coroners, to get these measures passed.
How much of this falls on local leadership versus maybe infrastructure needs and things like that?
I think it falls on all of it. I don't think it is just local leadership. I think that we have to look systematically at all of the systems of our carceral system in the beginning, again, from the point of contact with law enforcement, all the way to the custody, all the way to how much time people are getting, all the way to, even when you're at the Department of Corrections and people are rated. We use numbers and systems to rate people's security. We're talking about humans here. And so, what I want to press upon us is that we have to really look at the individuals, what their needs are, the issues and the things that they've gone through, and making sure that we're placing them in the proper place.
Senator, have you spoken to, regarding state prisons, have you spoken to the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections, Ms. Cruz, or Scott Jordan with adult institutions, the Deputy Commissioner?
I have not talked to them specifically around this issue, but I have, since I've been an elected official, I have been in communication with all stakeholders as it relates to our jails, our prisons, and police, and so have not had a direct conversation specifically about these measures, but that will be happening.
You talk about how transparency is so important. As you know, there have been several prisoner deaths at the Eastern Kentucky Correctional Complex. And not too long ago, I'm with WLEX, we submitted an open records request to the Department of Corrections asking for information, documentation of when the commissioner and the deputy commissioner, Mr. Jordan, had actually visited the complex. And we received this response right here saying that they had no record of the visits. How concerning is that to you?
I mean, I can't speak directly to that. I can't read the paper, and I have not spoken to them. But again, my goal is a transparency across the board, whether it is from our folks who are leading the detention centers, whether it's the executive branch, the legislative branch. I am here to hold all of us accountable. That is including myself as a lawmaker. And so, again, I just want to make clear that this is not about necessarily the blame game, but this is about how do we come together to find solutions to ensure that families are not losing loved ones while they're incarcerated, and to make sure that our staff who work tirelessly, who have very difficult jobs, that we have to also make sure that the staff, whether it's law enforcement or custody staff, have the things they need to be able to provide the care and the humanity to those individuals who are incarcerated. We do have Ms. Graham here. Would you like to say a couple words? It's fine if you don't, but if you do, I'm going to allow her to share a couple words to share her story.
Good morning. My name is Monica Graham. On May of 2024, the 18th of May, my son Richard Graham went to Metro Jail. On the 19th, he was deceased. The officers, from what I know, who are working that night, they did not do checks. My son died from ODing, but nobody checked on him, and they missed 2 opportunities to check on him. It's on paper, they admitted it and everything. My goal is to make sure that no one that goes to jail will not get the proper medical help they need, drugs going in the jail, just anything for the inmates. I mean, I know you make mistakes, but everybody is human. Everybody needs to be treated like a human. Don't just leave them in there to die. I have experienced the death of my son. Not when my son was incarcerated once before, he had Crohn's disease. They would not give him any medical help. So with that being said, we need to stop the contrabands from going in there. We need to make sure we have enough correction officers, staff to handle everything that goes on in the jail. Again, we do miss my son. This family, Amber and ACUL are my family. They've been working with me. Now it's going on 2 years. I don't mind speaking. If there are any other parents out there who would like to stand with me anytime there is a jail death, stand up for your children or your loved one. Don't just let it go by. Everybody needs to know when this happens and how it happens. And that's all I have to say. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. And as you see, you have two families from, again, one from Jefferson County, one from Madison County, who have loved ones, young loved ones who lost their life in the custody, and you know, different stories, but it's an issue. And so again, it's my goal to make sure that the voices and the stories of the individuals and the families are lifted up. And it's also my goal to make sure that I work with my colleagues and all stakeholders to improve our systems. I believe that these are 3 measures that is a starting point for that. It's not going to fix all the different issues. Even when hearing Ms. Graham speak, some of the issues and the things that she brought up, this legislation is not going to fix all of that, but this is a starting point. And so thank you all for being here again. I'll take one more question if there's any other questions.
I had a couple follow-ups. One, do you expect there to be any kind of fiscal, like an appropriation that needs to be attached to this?
No.
Okay. And second, do you expect any Republican co-sponsors as well on this effort?
I will definitely be working that and looking for Republican co-sponsors. So I think that, you know, obviously I have a history with working across the aisle, and so I am confident that I will be able to bring people together on this issue and to start moving the ball forward and getting something done. Thank you.